The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor was the only sound in the room, a stark contrast to the chaos shattering Alice's heart. She was still numb from the epidural, her newborn daughter Lily sleeping in the plastic bassinet next to her. She reached out for her husband's hand, expecting tears of joy. Instead, he slapped a thick manila envelope onto her chest. It wasn't a push present. It was divorce papers. "Sign them, Alice," his mother hissed from the corner, checking her diamond watch. "The surrogate contract, I mean, your marriage, is over. We have the baby. We don't need the barista." They thought they were discarding a broke orphan. They had no idea they'd just declared war on the heiress to the world's largest banking empire. The sterile smell of Lenox Hill Hospital in Manhattan usually signaled safety professional care and healing. But in room 402, the air was thick with a toxicity that no amount of antiseptic could scrub away. Alice Vance, known to the world in this room simply as Alice the struggling orphan who worked at a coffee shop, tried to shift her weight. The stitches from her emergency C-section burned like fire. She looked at Liam, the man she had loved for 2 years. The man she had hidden her identity for, just to ensure he loved her for her, and not for the billions attached to the Vance name. Liam Caldwell stood at the foot of the bed. He was handsome in that sharp, practiced way, wearing a Navy Brooks Brothers suit that Alice had secretly paid for by funneling money into his bonus checks. But today, his blue eyes were vacant. Cold. "Liam," Alice rasped, her throat dry. "Did you hold her? She has your nose." Liam didn't look at the bassinet where little Lily slept. He looked at his mother, Beatrice Caldwell. Beatrice stepped forward. She was a woman who wore her insecurity like armor draped in loud Chanel logos that screamed new money to anyone who actually knew wealth. To Alice, she had just been the difficult mother-in-law she tried to please. "We don't have time for sentimental rubbish, Alice," Beatrice said, her voice grating. She reached into her oversized tote bag and pulled out a thick envelope. She threw it onto the bed. It landed heavily on Alice's legs. "What is this?" Alice asked, her heart rate monitor picking up speed. Beep. 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 "Divorce papers," Liam said. His voice didn't waver. "And a custody agreement. You're signing full rights of Lily over to me." Alice felt the blood drain from her face. "Is this a joke I just gave birth 3 hours ago, Liam? We're a family." "We were never a family," Beatrice sneered, stepping closer. "You were a vessel, a necessary inconvenience. My son is the CFO of Caldwell Logistics. He is a rising star in New York society. Do you really think he can be seen with a nobody, a girl with no parents, no pedigree, and no money?" Alice gripped the sheets. "I thought you loved me, Liam." Liam finally made eye contact, and the cruelty in his gaze was worse than his mother's. It was the cruelty of a weak man, trying to feel powerful. "I loved the idea of you being grateful, Alice. But let's be real. I'm about to close a merger with the Sterling Group. I need a wife who fits that world. Jessica Thorne understands that world. You understand. Espresso machines." Alice's mind raced. The Sterling Group. She almost laughed. The Sterling Group was a subsidiary of Vance Global, her company. They were trying to merge with a company she owned. "Jessica," Alice whispered. "Your assistant, my fiancée," Liam corrected, adjusting his cuffs. "As of this morning." Beatrice tapped a manicured nail on the envelope. "Here is the deal. You sign the papers. We give you a check for $10,000. That's more money than you've ever seen in your life. You walk away. You let us raise Lily in a home where she won't starve. If you fight us, we will bury you in legal fees until you're homeless." Alice looked at her daughter. The tiny pink face of the baby she had carried for 9 months. They wanted to take her. They thought Alice was helpless. They thought she was the poor girl from the coffee shop who didn't know a lawyer from a barista. A slow, cold rage began to replace the pain in Alice's abdomen. It was a familiar feeling, the steel spine she had inherited from her grandfather, Silas Vance, the shark of Wall Street. "You want me to sign?" Alice asked, her voice dropping an octave. It wasn't the voice of a scared wife anymore. It was the voice of a CEO. "Now!" Beatrice barked. Alice reached for the pen Liam was holding out. Her hand didn't shake. She signed the divorce papers. She signed the waiver of spousal support. But when she got to the custody page, she stopped. "I'm not signing this one," Alice said calmly. "You have no choice," Beatrice shrieked. "You are homeless. You live in our apartment." "Actually," Alice said, closing the folder, "I'm leaving, and I'm taking my daughter. If you try to stop me, I'll scream for the nurses and tell them you're threatening a patient just out of surgery. The PR for Caldwell Logistics wouldn't survive." "That scandal, would it, Liam?" Liam paled. He knew how quickly a viral video could ruin a mid-level logistics firm. "Let her take the brat for now, Mum. She'll come crawling back in a week when she runs out of diapers. Then we take full custody in court." Beatrice huffed, grabbing the signed divorce papers. "Fine. You have 1 hour to vacate the apartment. I've already had the locks changed, but the doorman will give you your bags. They're on the curb." "You put my things on the curb?" Alice asked. "Where trash belongs." Beatrice smiled. "Goodbye, Alice. Don't contact us. My lawyer will be in touch to finalize the decree." Liam didn't even look back at his daughter. He followed his mother out of the room, already on his phone, likely calling Jessica. Alice sat in the silence of the room. The pain was excruciating, but the adrenaline was stronger. She reached for the bedside phone. She didn't dial 911. She dialed a number she hadn't used in 2 years. It rang once. "Vance Residence, Arthur speaking." A refined British voice answered. "Arthur." Alice said, tears finally spilling over, hot and angry. "It's Alice. Come get me. Bring the Bentley. And Arthur, call the legal team. I want to buy Caldwell Logistics." The transition from the hospital to the street was a blur of physical agony and mental fortitude. Against medical advice, Alice discharged herself. She strapped Lily into the car seat. The hospital provided the only thing she currently owned, besides the hospital gown and the sweatpants she had worn in. She stood on the sidewalk of 77th Street. It was raining, a cold, grey New York drizzle that soaked through her thin hoodie. Passers-by looked at the woman holding a newborn in a car seat, standing alone in the rain, and looked away. This was the city. Misery was common. But then the traffic parted. Rolling down the street like a dark shark in a sea of yellow taxis was a 2025 Rolls-Royce Phantom extended wheelbase in midnight blue. It didn't just drive, it glided. It pulled up directly in front of Alice. The back door didn't open. The driver's door flew open, and an older man with silver hair and an impeccable posture rushed out, holding a large black umbrella. "Miss Alice." Arthur breathed, his face a mask of concern breaking into relief. He shielded her and the baby instantly. My God. Look at you. I'm okay, Arthur, she whispered, her knees finally giving out. Arthur caught her with surprising strength for a man in his 60s. He carefully took the car seat with one hand and guided her into the plush cream leather interior of the car. The warmth hit her instantly. The smell of expensive leather and fresh orchids, the scent of her old life enveloped her, as the heavy door clicked shut, silencing the noise of the city. Alice slumped back. "To the penthouse, miss?" Arthur asked from the driver's seat, catching her eyes in the rearview mirror. "No," Alice said, looking down at Lily, who was sleeping peacefully, unaware that her mother was currently one of the richest women in America. "Take us to the safe house in the Hamptons, the estate. I need to recover. I need to heal. And I need to plan." "And the Caldwells?" Arthur asked, his voice tightening. He had served the Vance family for 40 years. He knew exactly what happened when someone crossed them. "They think I'm homeless," Alice said, wiping the rain from her face. "Let them think that. Let them enjoy their victory lap." "How is the merger going?" Arthur merged the massive car into traffic. "The paperwork for the Sterling Group to acquire Caldwell Logistics is on your desk. Liam Caldwell has been calling the office daily, begging for a meeting with the CEO. He has no idea the CEO is the woman he just left at the hospital." Alice let out a dry, humorless laugh. "Good. Schedule the meeting. 3 months from now, the night of the Vance Global Gala." 3 months? Arthur asked. "Yes, that gives me 3 months to lose the baby weight. Get my strength back and let them dig their own graves. I want them to feel safe. I want them to spend money they don't have. I want them to think they've won." Alice looked out the tinted window as they passed a billboard. It was an ad for Caldwell Logistics, featuring a smiling Liam. "He wanted a wife who could help his career," Alice whispered to the sleeping baby. "I'm going to help him, Lily. I'm going to help him lose everything." The drive to the Hamptons took 2 hours. When they arrived at the Vance estate, a 50-acre oceanfront property protected by high walls and armed security, the staff was waiting. They didn't see a rejected wife. They saw the return of the Queen. Maids rushed to prepare the nursery. A private medical team already hired by Arthur during the drive was waiting in the master suite to attend to Alice's stitches. For the next week, Alice didn't leave her bed. She held Lily. She cried. She grieved the marriage she thought she had. She realized that the Liam she loved never existed. He was a mirror reflecting what she wanted to see while he drained her bank account, or what he thought was her bank account. On the 7th day, Alice stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling mirror in her bathroom. She looked tired, pale, but the fire was back in her green eyes. Her phone buzzed. It was a new phone, encrypted, but Arthur had forwarded a voicemail from her old number. It was Liam. "Alice, look, I know you're probably staying at a shelter or something. Just don't come to the apartment. Jessica is moving in today. We're redecorating the nursery. It's going to be a gym. Sign the custody papers, Alice. Don't make me call the cops on you for kidnapping my daughter." Alice didn't delete the message. She saved it. She walked out to the balcony overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. Arthur was standing there, with a silver tray holding a green juice and a stack of documents. "The private investigators have returned, miss," Arthur said. "It seems Liam and his mother have been siphoning money from the company accounts to pay for personal luxuries. Fraud. Embezzlement." "Keep that in the pocket," Alice said, taking the juice. "That's the kill shot. We don't use that yet. First, we humiliate them." "What is the first move?" "We're going shopping," Alice said. "I need a wardrobe for the gala, and Arthur buy the building Liam lives in. The one where he just kicked me out. Arthur raised an eyebrow, a small smile playing on his lips. The entire apartment complex, miss. The whole block, Alice said. And send him an eviction notice. Tell him the new landlord is renovating. Give him, let's say, 30 days. Very good, miss. Oh, and Arthur. Yes, miss. Make sure the eviction notice is signed by a shell company. Name it Karma Holdings. 2 weeks had passed since Alice was discarded at Lenox Hill Hospital. In the apartment on the Upper West Side, a pre-war gem overlooking the park life for the Caldwells was better than ever. Or so they told themselves. Beatrice Caldwell sat on the velvet chaise lounge, sipping a mimosa, watching workmen haul out bags of trash. The bags were filled with Alice's clothes, her books, and the few paintings she had bought from street artists. Careful with that wall, Beatrice snapped at a worker. We're repainting it sterling silver. A fitting color for our new tax bracket. Don't you think, Jessica? Jessica Thorne stood by the window, admiring her reflection. She was everything Alice wasn't. Tall blonde and surgically enhanced to perfection. She wore a silk robe that she had found in the closet, Alice's robe, though she didn't care. It's perfect, Beatrice, Jessica cooed. And look at this room. It was so cramped with that crib and the rocking chair. It's going to be so much more open as a Pilates studio. Liam needs his stress relief. Liam walked in, loosening his tie. He looked exhausted but smug. The merger talks are heating up. The Sterling Group representatives are tough, but I think they're impressed. Once I sign that deal, my bonus alone will cover the down payment on a Hampton summer house. See, Beatrice beamed. I told you shedding that dead weight would clear your path to success. Alice was an anchor, Liam. Jessica is a sail. Just then the doorbell rang. It was a sharp, insistent buzz. Probably the caterer for the engagement dinner tonight, Jessica said, clapping her hands. I ordered the lobster from Le Bernardin. Liam opened the door, a smile plastered on his face. But it wasn't a caterer holding a tray of hors d'oeuvres. It was a process server, a burly man in a cheap windbreaker, flanked by 2 uniformed NYPD officers. Liam Caldwell, the man asked. Yes. Liam's smile faltered. And Beatrice Caldwell. I'm here, Beatrice called out, walking to the foyer, her champagne glass still in hand. Is there a problem, officers? If it's about the noise, we have a permit for the renovations. The process server handed Liam a thick stack of papers. This isn't a noise complaint. This is an immediate eviction notice pursuant to a foreclosure and change of ownership. Liam laughed, a nervous barking sound. That's impossible. We rent this unit. Our lease is good for another 8 months. The landlord loves us. Your landlord sold the building 3 days ago, the server said, bored. The new owner, Karma Holdings LLC, is invoking the immediate renovation clause. The building has been deemed structurally unsound for residential use due to, let's see here, toxic mold infestations in the penthouse unit. That's this unit. Mold, Beatrice shrieked. There is no mold. We just had the walls done. The report is filed with the city, the officer said, stepping forward. You have 48 hours to vacate the premises. If you are not out by Friday at noon, the sheriff's department will remove you and your belongings. This is insane, Liam shouted, his face turning red. Who is behind Karma Holdings? I want to speak to the owner. It's a blind trust, the server said, turning to leave. Good luck with the move. As the door clicked shut, the silence in the apartment was deafening. Where are we going to go? Jessica whispered, the color draining from her face. Liam, the engagement party is tonight. People are coming here in 4 hours. We'll book a hotel, Liam stammered, pulling out his phone. The Plaza. We'll stay at the plaza." Beatrice grabbed his arm, her nails digging into his suit. "Liam, the credit cards. Remember, we maxed out the Amex for the engagement ring and the deposit on the venue for the wedding. We don't have liquid cash until your merger bonus hits." Liam stared at his phone. He checked his bank balance. $4,200. That wouldn't even cover 2 nights in a suite at the plaza for 3 people, let alone the moving costs. "Call the company card," Beatrice commanded. "Use the expense account." "I can't," Liam snapped, sweat forming on his brow. "The auditors from the Sterling Group are going through our books this week. If I charge a hotel stay to the company, they'll see it. It could jeopardize the merger." Jessica threw herself onto the couch, sobbing dramatically. "This is a disaster. I can't be homeless. I'm a bride-to-be." While they panicked miles away in the Hamptons, Alice sat in her home office. A massive monitor on the wall showed a live feed of the building's lobby security camera. She watched the process server leave. She took a sip of herbal tea. She looked different. Her hair was cut into a sharp, chic bob. Her skin, thanks to expensive dermatologists, and a week of rest, was glowing. She wore a white cashmere sweater that cost more than Liam's car. "Arthur," she said into the intercom. "Yes, Miss Vance?" "They just got the notice. Cancel the toxic mold report for the other units. I only want the penthouse condemned. The other tenants can stay. I'm lowering their rent by 20% as an apology for the disturbance." "Very generous, miss. And for the Caldwells, make sure every hotel in a 20-mile radius is suddenly fully booked for the next 2 days. I want them to experience the reality of the New York housing market." Alice looked down at Lily, who was cooing in a mahogany cradle next to the desk. "They put us on the street, Lily," Alice whispered, stroking the baby's cheek. "Let's see how they like the Motel 6 in New Jersey." 3 weeks later, Liam Caldwell looked like a shadow of his former self. He was staying in a cramped 2-bedroom rental in Queens, the only thing they could find on short notice without a credit check. Beatrice was sleeping on the pull-out couch, complaining loudly every morning about her back. Jessica had been staying with friends more and more often, claiming the commute from Queens was ruining her skin. But today was the day everything would change. Today was the preliminary signing meeting with the Sterling Group. Liam adjusted his tie in the reflection of the subway window. He missed his town car service, but he had to cut costs. He walked into the glass skyscraper of Vance Global in Midtown Manhattan. Feeling small, he was ushered into a conference room that was larger than his entire rental apartment. The table was made of obsidian. The view stretched all the way to the Statue of Liberty. Sitting at the head of the table wasn't the usual acquisition manager. It was a man Liam recognized from magazine covers, Marcus Sterling, the CEO of the subsidiary group, and next to him sat a woman with her back to Liam, looking out the window. "Mr. Caldwell," Marcus said, his voice smooth as silk but hard as iron. "Please sit." "Mr. Sterling," Liam said, extending a hand that Marcus ignored. "It's an honor. I'm ready to sign. My team has prepared the logistics reports." "Sit down, Liam," Marcus interrupted. Liam sat. The woman by the window turned around. Liam blinked. For a split second, his heart stopped. The woman had the same eyes as Alice, but this woman was radiating power. She wore a tailored crimson suit by Alexander McQueen. Diamonds glittered at her throat, subtle but massive. Her hair was different. Her posture was regal. It couldn't be Alice. Alice was a barista. Alice wore hoodies. This woman looked like she owned the city. "This is Ms. V," Marcus said, gesturing to the woman. "She is the majority shareholder representing the parent company for this acquisition. She will be observing. Miss V. Liam stammered. Vance, the woman said. Her voice was Alice's, but colder, deeper. You may call me Miss Vance. Liam breathed a sigh of relief. Vance. Of course, it was just a coincidence, a common name. And honestly, he was so sleep-deprived he was seeing ghosts. There was no way his ex-wife was sitting in the boardroom of a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. Pleasure, Liam said. Let's cut to the chase, Ms. Vance said. She didn't open a folder. She just stared at him. We've reviewed Caldwell Logistics' financials. They are messy. Messy, Liam bristled. We are profitable. You are leveraging debt against projected earnings, she countered, and there are some irregularities in the expense accounts. Luxury goods, personal travel, a specific charge for a wedding dress at Kleinfeld's. Liam went pale. He had put Jessica's dress on the company card, planning to pay it back after the bonus. That was a clerical error. It's being reimbursed. We don't like errors, Ms. Vance said, tapping a gold pen on the table. However, the Sterling Group is still interested in the acquisition, but the terms have changed. Changed how? Liam asked. We are dropping the purchase price by 40%, Marcus Sterling said. 40%. Liam stood up. That's insane. That leaves me with almost nothing after I pay off the company debts. My personal payout would be negligible. Take it or leave it, Ms. Vance said. She stood up, walking slowly toward him. The scent of her perfume hit him. Jasmine and sandalwood. Liam froze. That was Alice's scent. But Alice used a cheap body spray. This was the pure distilled oil version, costing thousands an ounce. You're desperate, Mr. Caldwell, she said, standing inches from him. We know about the eviction. We know about the personal loans you took out to cover your mother's gambling debts. You need this bailout. Liam felt like he was choking. She knew everything. Who are you? He whispered. I'm the person deciding your future, she said. Here is the new contract. But there is one more condition. What? Liam asked, defeated. The CEO position, she said. Usually in these mergers, the current CEO stays on for a transition period. We are removing that clause. If you sign, you are fired effectively immediately. You get your payout, the reduced one, and you leave. No golden parachute. No severance. You're firing me from my own company. It's not your company once you sign, Marcus reminded him. Liam looked at the contract. If he didn't sign, he would go bankrupt within a month. The debts were piling up. Jessica was demanding a destination wedding. Beatrice needed money. If he signed, he got maybe 200,000 clear cash. It wasn't millions, but it was survival. I need time to think, Liam said. You have until the night of the Vance Global Gala, Ms. Vance said. That's in 2 months. We will finalize the deal there. Until then, we will be auditing every single penny you spend. Don't buy any more lattes, Mr. Caldwell. She smiled. It was a shark's smile. Liam grabbed his briefcase and fled the room. He needed air. Back in the conference room, Marcus Sterling looked at Alice. You pushed him hard, Alice. You think he'll break. Alice Vance dropped the facade, her shoulders relaxing. He won't break yet, Marcus. He's too proud. He thinks he can find another buyer in 2 months. He thinks he can save himself. And can he? No, Alice said, walking back to the window. I've already contacted every other logistics firm in the tri-state area. No one will touch him. I've poisoned the well. You're enjoying this, Marcus noted. He looked me in the eye when I was holding our daughter and told me I was nothing. Alice said softly. I'm not enjoying it, Marcus. I'm executing justice. Now let's talk about phase 2. How is Jessica Thorne enjoying her modeling scout? Marcus chuckled. The actor we hired, he approached her yesterday, told her she has the look for international runways. She's already looking up flights to Milan. Good, Alice said. Let's see how loyal she is when she thinks she's about to be famous. And Liam is about to be unemployed. Alice checked her watch. It was time to go home to Lily. She had a fitting for the gala. She was going to wear red, the color of victory, and the color of blood. The Queen's apartment smelled of stale takeout and desperation. It had been 6 weeks since the eviction, and the glamour of the Caldwell family had peeled away like cheap paint. Liam sat at the small, wobbly kitchen table, his head in his hands. His phone was a minefield of missed calls from creditors. The sterling deal, the reduced offer from Ms. Vance, was sitting in his inbox unsigned. He had spent the last month trying to find anyone else to buy his company or invest. He had called the Manhattan Bank. Sorry, Mr. Caldwell, your risk profile has been flagged. He had called private equity firms. We aren't interested in logistics right now. He had even called his old college roommate, who ran a hedge fund. Liam, look, word on the street is you're toxic. I can't touch you. It was as if an invisible hand had built a wall around him, cutting him off from the money supply of New York City. He didn't know that the invisible hand belonged to the mother of his child, who was currently taking a Pilates class in her home gym in the Hamptons. Liam, Beatrice yelled from the bathroom. The hot water is gone again. Call the super. I called him Mom, Liam shouted back, his patience snapping. He said the boiler is broken. Deal with it. Beatrice stormed out, wrapped in a towel, looking haggard. Without her weekly facials and spa trips, the stress was aging her rapidly. I cannot live like this. I am a Caldwell. Do you know what Mrs. Halloway said to me yesterday? She saw me on the subway. The subway, Liam. She asked if my driver was sick. I nearly died of shame. We have no money. Mom. Liam slammed his hand on the table. Until I sign the deal with Vance Global, we are broke. And if I sign, I lose my job. Then sign it, Beatrice shrieked. Take the payout. We can move to, I don't know, Florida. Start over. I built that company, Liam roared. It's my legacy. The door to the apartment opened, and Jessica breezed in. Unlike Liam and Beatrice, she looked radiant. She was wearing new clothes, designer clothes. She was humming. Where have you been? Liam asked, eyeing her shopping bags. And where did you get the money for that? Jessica tossed her hair, checking her reflection in the hallway mirror. Oh, relax, Liam. I have good news. My modeling career is finally taking off. Modeling? Beatrice scoffed. You're 26, darling. That's ancient in model years. Not for high fashion. Jessica shot back, pulling out a glossy business card. I met a scout, Julian de Rossi. He scouts for the European market. He says I have the aristocratic look that Milan is dying for. Liam snatched the card. It looked expensive. He didn't know that Julian de Rossi was actually an out-of-work actor named Steve from New Jersey, paid $5,000 by Arthur to flatter Jessica into oblivion. He wants to fly me to Italy next week for a test shoot. Jessica said, her eyes gleaming with greed. Fully paid, 5-star hotel, and the signing bonus is $50,000. 50,000. Liam's eyes widened. Jess, that's amazing. We can use that to pay off the credit card debt. Jessica's smile faltered. She snatched the card back. Liam, this is my career. I need this money for my portfolio, my wardrobe, my travel expenses. You can't just take my earnings to fix your mistakes. My mistakes? Liam stood up, hurt flashing across his face. I left my wife and newborn child for you. I bought you a ring I couldn't afford. We are in this mess because I tried to give you the life you wanted. Nobody asked you to be bad at business. Liam, Jessica said coldly. Look, Julian said the agency prefers models who are unencumbered, single. The room went silent. The radiator hissed in the corner. What are you saying? Liam whispered. I'm saying, maybe we rush things. Jessica backtracked quickly, realizing she still needed a roof over her head for a few more days. I'm saying let's just get through this gala thing. You sign your deal, I get my contract, and then we see where we stand. She walked into the bedroom and locked the door. Liam looked at his mother. Beatrice was busy filing her nails, pretending she hadn't heard. She didn't care if Liam's heart was broken as long as the checks cleared. At that moment, Liam's phone pinged. A notification from his email. Subject: invitation to the annual Vance Global Gala. Mr. Liam Caldwell and guest. You are cordially invited to the masquerade ball at the Pierre Hotel, hosted by Miss Alice Vance, CEO. Black tie. Masks mandatory. The final signing of the acquisition of Caldwell Logistics will take place at midnight. It's time, Liam muttered, staring at the screen. He felt a strange sense of dread. The name Alice Vance mocked him. It was just a coincidence. It had to be. He didn't know that in the metadata of the email there was a read receipt tracking his location, sending a signal back to a server in the Hamptons. In her study, the real Alice watched the notification turn green. She was holding Lily, feeding her a bottle. He opened it, Alice said to Arthur. Excellent, Arthur replied, organizing a stack of files. The foreclosure on the Queen's apartment building is also scheduled for the day after the gala. They will return from the ball to find their keycards deactivated. Alice didn't smile. Her face was set in stone. Did the actor Julian deliver the lines? Perfectly. Jessica believes she is the next Kate Moss. She has already packed her bags. She plans to leave for the airport directly from the gala. So she's going to abandon him publicly, Alice mused. Good. He needs to feel what it's like to be discarded when you are no longer useful. And the dress, miss? Arthur asked. Alice looked at the mannequin in the corner. Draped over it was a gown of pure gold mesh and crimson silk custom-made in Paris. It was a dress designed for a queen, a warrior. It's ready, she said. Let's go to New York. The Pierre Hotel was transformed. The grand ballroom was a sea of black velvet and gold light. A string quartet played haunting renditions of modern pop songs. The elite of New York senators, oil tycoons, tech billionaires, mingled behind intricate masks of feathers, leather, and jewels. Liam, Jessica, and Beatrice arrived in a rented Uber XL. They stepped out onto the red carpet, trying to project confidence. Liam wore his tuxedo from his wedding to Alice. It was slightly tight around the waist now. Stress eating had taken its toll. He wore a simple black domino mask. Beatrice was draped in a vintage fur she had refused to sell, wearing a mask covered in fake rhinestones. Jessica, however, looked spectacular. She had spent the last of her credit limit on a silver dress that left little to the imagination. She was scanning the room, not for business partners for Liam, but for Julian, her scout. "Keep it together," Liam hissed as they entered the ballroom. "I need to find Marcus Sterling. I need to find this Ms. Vance. I'm going to try to negotiate one last time. If I can charm her, maybe I can keep my job." "Just sign the check, Liam." Beatrice grumbled, grabbing a glass of champagne from a passing waiter. "I'm hungry. The hors d'oeuvres look expensive." The room was buzzing with whispers. Everyone was talking about the mysterious hostess, the recluse heiress, the woman who had taken over Vance Global after her grandfather's death 2 years ago, but had never been seen in public. Tonight was her debut. "Ladies and gentlemen," a voice boomed over the speakers. The lights dimmed. A spotlight hit the top of the grand staircase. "Please welcome the chairwoman of Vance Global, Ms. Alice Vance." The doors at the top of the stairs opened. A collective gasp went through the room. Alice stood there. She was a vision of terrifying beauty. The gold and crimson dress flowed around her like liquid fire. She wore a gold mask that covered the upper half of her face, designed to look like the wings of a phoenix rising. She descended the stairs slowly, every eye on her. Liam stared. His mouth went dry. There was something about the way she walked, the tilt of her head. It was familiar. It pulled at a memory, buried deep in his subconscious. "No," he told himself. My Alice tripped over her own feet. My Alice wore oversized sweaters. This woman is a goddess. Alice reached the bottom of the stairs. Marcus Sterling was waiting for her. He offered his arm. They moved through the crowd, parting the sea of guests. Alice didn't speak to anyone. She simply nodded, acknowledging the power players. She stopped directly in front of Liam. Liam straightened his spine. "Ms. Vance," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "I'm Liam Caldwell. We met briefly in the boardroom." Alice stared at him through the eye slits of the mask. Her eyes were vivid emerald green. "Mr. Caldwell," she said. Her voice was modulated, slightly distorted by the acoustics of the mask, but the disdain was clear. "And this must be your family." "This is my mother, Beatrice," Liam said. "And my fiancée, Jessica." Alice turned her gaze to Jessica. "The model," she said. Jessica preened. "You've heard of me. I hear a lot of things," Alice said. "I hear you are going to Milan." "Yes, tonight, actually." Jessica beamed, ignoring Liam's sharp look. "How fortunate," Alice said. "New beginnings are so important. Don't you think so, Liam?" She used his first name. It sounded intimate and dangerous. "Ms. Vance," Liam said, stepping closer, lowering his voice. "About the contract. I was hoping we could discuss the CEO clause. I know the company better than anyone. If you let me stay on—" "Meet me in the library room in 10 minutes, Alice interrupted. "Bring the contract, and bring your entourage. We will settle this tonight." She turned and walked away, the gold train of her dress rustling like dry leaves. "She likes you," Beatrice whispered excitedly. "Did you see that? She wants a private meeting. You can charm her." "Liam, use that smile." Liam felt sweat trickling down his back under the tuxedo. "I don't know, Mom. She scares me." 10 minutes later, the Caldwells entered the private library room. It was quiet, lined with books. A large mahogany desk sat in the center. Alice was standing behind the desk. Marcus Sterling stood to her right. Arthur the butler. Liam had never met, stood by the door, locking it behind them. "Have a seat," Alice commanded. They sat. The 3 Caldwells on one side, the billionaire on the other. "The contract," Alice said, holding out a gloved hand. Liam placed the folder on the desk. "I've signed it," he said, defeated. "I accept the terms. I'm selling the company." "Good," Alice said. She didn't look at the papers. She looked at Liam. But before we countersign and release the funds, there is one final matter of disclosure. Disclosure? Liam asked. We value transparency at Vance Global, she said. She reached up to the ribbons tying her mask. We don't like secrets. The room went deadly silent. The only sound was the rustle of silk as she loosened the knot. You asked who I was, she said softly. You asked why I was so hard on you. She pulled the gold mask away from her face. Beatrice gasped. Jessica dropped her clutch purse. Liam stopped breathing. The face looking back at him wasn't a stranger. It wasn't a random billionaire. It was the face he had kissed 1,000 times. It was the face he had laughed at in the hospital room. Hello, Liam. Alice said, her voice dropping, the affectation returning to the warm, clear tone he knew so well. How is the Pilates studio in the nursery working out? Alice, Liam choked out. He stood up, knocking his chair over. This is a prank. You're a barista. You're an orphan. I am an orphan, Alice said coldly. My grandfather was Silas Vance. When he died, he left me everything. But I wanted to be loved for myself, not my money. So I hid it. I pretended to be poor to see if anyone would love me without the checkbook. She stood up, leaning over the desk. And you failed, Liam. You failed spectacularly. You're a billionaire. Beatrice screeched, her face turning purple. We were married to a billionaire. We, Alice laughed. No, Liam was married to me. You were just the leech attached to him. Jessica looked from Alice to Liam. The gears in her head were turning frantically. A billionaire. Liam's ex-wife was the richest woman in the room. Alice, Jessica stammered. I didn't know. If I had known. You would have tried to be my best friend, Alice finished. Save it, Jessica. Enjoy Milan. Oh wait, there is no Milan. What? Jessica froze. Julian isn't a scout, Alice said, signaling Arthur. Arthur stepped forward and played a recording on his phone. It was Julian laughing. Yeah, the blonde bought it hook, line, and sinker. She actually thinks she's a model. Easy money. Jessica's face crumpled. No. There is no trip, Alice said. No contract. You're just an unemployed mistress in a cheap dress. Liam stared at Alice, his mind fracturing. Why? Why do this? Why ruin me? You ruined yourself, Liam, Alice said, picking up the contract. I just sped up the process. You handed me divorce papers while our daughter was sleeping 5 feet away. You threw me out on the street. She ripped the contract in half. What are you doing? Liam screamed. The money I need, that money. I'm not buying your company, Alice said calmly. I changed my mind. Caldwell Logistics is a sinking ship. Why would I buy garbage? But the deal, you said. I lied, Alice smiled. Just like you lied about loving me. She pressed a button on the desk. Security. 2 massive guards entered the room. Mr. Caldwell and his guests are leaving, Alice said, turning her back on them. And Arthur, call the police. I believe Mr. Caldwell has been driving a car with expired registration. And Beatrice, I think the IRS might be interested in those gambling winnings. She never declared. Alice, please. Liam fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. Please, I have nothing. I have nowhere to go. Think of Lily. She's my daughter, too. Alice stopped. She turned slowly. "You signed away your custody rights, remember?" she said, her voice like ice. "You wanted a clean break, you got it." She looked at the guards. "Get them out of my sight." The heavy brass doors of the Pierre Hotel didn't open for Liam Caldwell this time. They were slammed shut behind him by security. He, his mother, and his fiancée were unceremoniously dumped onto the sidewalk of Fifth Avenue. The night air was freezing, biting through Liam's thin tuxedo shirt, now soaked with sweat. But the cold was nothing compared to the blinding flash of cameras. Alice hadn't just kicked them out. She had ensured an audience. A wall of paparazzi tipped off about a major celebrity scandal involving the Vance heiress was waiting. "Mr. Caldwell, is it true you dumped Alice Vance for a secretary? Beatrice, is it true you're being investigated for embezzlement? Jessica, who are you wearing? Is it true your dress is a knockoff?" The questions were like physical blows. Liam shielded his face, stumbling toward the curb. "No comment. Get away from us." Jessica, realizing the Milan trip was a lie and seeing the sinking ship that was Liam, made her move. She shoved Beatrice aside, causing the older woman to stumble into a pile of garbage bags. "Get off me!" Jessica screamed at the cameras. "I didn't know." "He lied to me too. I'm a victim here." "Jessica." Liam grabbed her arm. "What are you doing? We need to stick together." Jessica ripped her arm away, her face twisted in a snarl that ruined her pretty features. "Stick together. You're finished, Liam. You're bankrupt. You're a laughing stock. Do you really think I'm going to stay with a loser who lives in a moldy apartment in Queens and owes millions?" She hailed a taxi. "I'm going to my sister's. Don't call me, and don't expect the ring back. I pawned it yesterday to pay for my hair extensions." She slammed the taxi door, leaving Liam and Beatrice alone on the pavement. "Ungrateful little wretch!" Beatrice spat, adjusting her fur coat. "I told you she was trash, Liam. Now fix this. Call your father's old friends. Call someone." But before Liam could answer, a squad car pulled up. Lights flashing silently. 2 officers stepped out. "Beatrice Caldwell." "Yes." Beatrice straightened her posture, trying to summon her old arrogance. "I am she. If this is about the noise, we were just leaving." "Ma'am, we have a warrant for your arrest regarding tax evasion and check fraud," the officer said, pulling out handcuffs. "And Mr. Liam Caldwell. We have a warrant for you as well. Corporate negligence and falsifying financial records." As the metal cuffs clicked around Liam's wrists, he looked up at the penthouse window of the Pierre. He could see the golden glow of the party. He imagined Alice up there, warm, loved, and powerful. He had held the world in his arms, and he had thrown it away for a plastic imitation. The ride to the precinct was silent. Liam leaned his head against the cold window of the police cruiser. A single tear rolled down his cheek. He wasn't crying for his mother. He wasn't crying for Jessica. He was crying because he remembered the way Alice used to look at him when he came home from work, like he was her hero. He realized too late that was the only wealth that had ever mattered. 5 years later, the morning rush at the Daily Grind, a small, nondescript coffee shop in Jersey City, was brutal. "1 non-fat latte extra foam," a customer shouted, tapping her watch. "Coming right up," the barista mumbled. He looked older than his 35 years. His hair was thinning, and there were deep lines of exhaustion etched around his eyes. He wore a green apron with a name tag that read Liam. Liam Caldwell expertly frothed the milk. It was ironic. He had once mocked Alice for being a barista. He had called it unskilled labor. Now it was the only job he could keep. No legitimate company would hire him after the trial. He had avoided jail time by pleading guilty and liquidating every single asset he owned, but his reputation was incinerated. He handed the cup to the customer. She didn't look at him. She was too busy scrolling on her phone. "Did you see this?" the woman asked her friend standing next to her. "Alice Vance is on the cover of Forbes again. Woman of the Decade." Liam froze. He wiped the counter, his hand trembling slightly. "She's amazing," the friend replied. "And her daughter Lily. She's 5 now. There's a picture of them launching that new charity for single mothers. She donated $50 million. She looks so happy," the woman sighed. "And to think nobody knew who she was for years. She's a legend." Liam looked up at the TV screen mounted in the corner of the shop. It was a news segment. There she was. Alice. She looked more beautiful than ever, standing on a podium cutting a ribbon for a new hospital wing. She was smiling a genuine, radiant smile that reached her eyes. Beside her stood a little girl with curly hair and bright eyes that looked painfully like Liam's. Lily looked up at her mother with pure adoration. Alice leaned down and whispered something that made the little girl giggle. A sharp pain pierced Liam's chest. That should have been his life. That little girl should have known her father. But he was a stranger to them now. A ghost. "Hey, buddy," a customer yelled, snapping his fingers. "I ordered a dark roast 5 minutes ago." "Wake up," Liam snapped back to reality. The grey, dreary reality he had built for himself brick by brick. "I'm sorry," Liam whispered, grabbing a paper cup. "I'm sorry." He poured the coffee. The steam rose up, obscuring the TV screen, fading the image of the billionaire and her daughter into a white fog. Liam handed the cup over, forced a smile he didn't feel, and got back to work. He was just the barista now, and Alice was the queen. And that is the story of how one cruel decision cost a man everything. Liam thought he was trading up, tossing aside a diamond because he thought it was just a rock. He didn't realize that true value isn't about what's in your bank account, but who is in your corner. Alice proved that the best revenge isn't always shouting or fighting. Sometimes it's just succeeding and letting the people who hurt you watch from the sidelines. What do you think? Did Alice go too far by destroying his company? Or did Liam and his family deserve every bit of karma they got? And would you have forgiven him if he begged? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this story of justice and twists, please smash that like button. It really helps the channel, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new story. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.